Hello, it's Cara from CaraWild.com, and I'm here today to talk to you about working with stone circles, or circles in general, doing circle work. And I'm hoping it's not too windy. The wind has died down for the video, thankfully, and I'm hidden behind the stone in the west, which is one of my favourite ones, but I'm hoping it's kind of guarding you from the onslaught of the wind coming from the moors. So, first of all, if you, like I used to be, is a little bit curious about stone circle work, a little bit maybe sceptical, healthily so, that's where I was about 12 years ago. And I started working with a group of pagans and druids and headwitch, sea witch, this group of magical people that came into my life who introduced me to the Sabbats, working with earth energies. And like I've said before, if you're like me and you're a starseed saying, let me go home, I just want to go home, I don't like it here, then stick with me because this might be useful for you. So I just thought it was a pleasant thing to do, a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon on my first ever trip out to Stand and Stone Circle up on the moors. This one is just around the corner from my home, but my favourite one in Cornwall is Stand and Stone Circle, and it's where I've done the most powerful work. So that was my first introduction, and how I went from thinking it was a pleasant thing to do to really started taking it seriously is because when my friends were opening the circle, using their wands to open circles, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? But I saw blue lights, and coming from the wands, which I now know is witch fire, I had lots of experiences where there were pillars of light. I could see them physically with my eyes, and so could other people, and we would look for the most practical explanation for it, and there just wasn't any. So I'm converted and I'm convinced, and I've had enough of my own direct experiences, and I just wanted to introduce you to them. So I'm not going to talk to you today about how to work with stone circles, how to cast a circle or do any magic or anything like that. This is just an introduction on why you might even consider it in the first place. So if you are, number one, if you are the kind of energy worker or person that works with the higher realms, loves going inside, working with angelic frequencies, you know, the whole up there or in here, but just not physical reality, then working with stone circles, working with nature in general, or just being in nature, but definitely seeing the combination of energy work and magic with earth energies and stone circles is a really good way of feeling safe in physical reality and like you belong. You know, like you've got a place here. It's the portal for those of us that kind of do the in-between, walking in between the edge walkers, and who live with both feet in both worlds at the same time. So if you're looking to be more of a blended being, aware of the non-physical and the physical at the same time, stone circle work is really good for that, really good. It's an excellent place to come and get some peace and meditate, and to reconnect you to your land, you know, the whole colonisation piece that's ripped us from having any sense of connection with our land, especially with those of us in the West, and those of us that, you know, quite like a modern life, thank you very much, like me. I don't necessarily want to live on the moors. Sometimes I do, but I quite like technology and all the mod cons, but working with stone circles and nature in general, but particularly stone circles, have really helped me connect back to my innate power and feeling the provision, you know, everything that we are ever provided with comes from the earth. So that's another reason. Okay, so another one is you work with elements. So for those of you that are absolute beginners, there's north, south, east, west, and sometimes people work with central spirit energies too. But your basic yeah, basic stone circle has got the north and the south and the east and the west. So I'm in the west. And what I've found is really helpful for me was seeing what part of the stone circle, what quarter I was most connected to. So mine is west, and it's the water element. It kind of makes sense, but I just went into somebody that introduced me to the stone circles down here. You just go to a stone that you're drawn to, sit down and listen for a message, and just pay attention to any thoughts, like any inspiration that comes to you, any aha moments, probably in a voice that's slower than yours. Earth energies, particularly stones, have got a much slower frequency. I've been around for ages, thank you very much. So there's a really steady vibration to their voice and their messages, which is why it can be so soothing and so helping you feel connected and powerful. As our power is in the now. So let me see if I can get away with coming out from behind the west to show you another way that you can. So you can work with the north. So here is typically where, can you see up there? Yeah, so you can climb up there, it's gorgeous. Ancestors are associated with the north, and I have a local friend who so I had to dive back behind the rock because a massive gust of wind came. So I was saying, a local friend of mine, when we come to work the stone circles together, she's the one that calls in the north, and the ancestors. You see the rock up behind there, and she has a really strong connection with them, so she calls them in and welcomes them into our stone circle. And quite often when she does that, I can see psychically and pick up some messages from them. So that's another way of working with the elements. The other way I think is really interesting is to work with the element and the quarter that you are the least comfortable with, and to see what's there. So an example of mine is, I've always been sensitive for fires, witches, burn-ins probably, but also I just got curious about the fire quarter of the south quarter, which is represented by the element fire. And so I was like, from a psychological point of view, what is it that I'm so afraid of? And I purposely worked with that quarter, talking to it, tuning into it, being at peace with it, and seeing what was getting in the way of my understanding of how to have a healthy relationship with that element, that what that represented is hearth and home, it's passion. And it changed a lot of things for me. And so I would invite you to consider the elements that you're not really that comfortable with. Maybe it's west for you with the water and you're fine, thank you very much, as long as you don't have to feel anything. You don't like being emotional, you like logic. Maybe for you it's the east for air and inspiration, and maybe you really enjoy being practical and you don't want to, you're scared of getting lost in airy-fairy thinking. So that's another way that you can work with the quarters. I just think that's really interesting as a personal development tool and inner reflection. So what else has I got down here for you in my notes? Hold on. Okay, so this video is getting a bit long, so I'm going to cut it short, and it's getting really windy. So, really, from a practical point of view, dance, get barefoot. If you're sensitive sensory wise and you don't like dancing in bare feet, there is no prerequisite of fully functioning in a stone circle that means that you have to do it barefoot at all. Nobody's watching. But you see that mast up there? This is the best place to get a mobile signal in the whole of the place where I live. I can get a better signal here than I can at home. So I get Spotify on, we get some grooves going, and we start dancing and singing and moving our bodies in celebration. Because I think that's a big part of what stone circles are. Who really knows what people did with stone circles, whether Merlin did go around and close them as portals to protect magic? I often think of stone circles as a bit like Reiki symbols, that they're powerful because of what's been projected onto them. So I don't care. I just know what I experienced directly, and I just try to be respectful as possible to stories and folklore that gets passed down, and what teachers and wise ones that have come before me tell me about them. And then I have my own direct experiences. So dance in stone circles, dance together. And then another way that you can do it, when this stone circle started talking to me, I know, that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it did start calling to me. And I started coming up here and working consciously with it. I would open it up with light language, cast a circle and sit in the middle and just listen. And I had experiences where the grid of my auric field was connected to the stone circle. So the stone circle connected to the grid of my auric field and then connected me to the Earth's auric field, and I could see the connection. I had a visceral experience of that connection, and it made me think of my connection to physical reality and the Earth, and maybe the trauma, my unprocessed trauma, and how that might be affecting the Earth at this time. You know, it really made me think of that in a way that I'd not before. So again, you know, over and over again, I say, trust your direct experiences over everything first. And the theories that I now believe in, most of them are a result of direct experiences I've had, and then I've tried to find meaning for them. So stone circles can really activate your own inner wisdom in a way that's profound, beautiful, and ancestral, probably. It ain't what you're going to see on the 9 o'clock news. So that's a really brief sum up of how and why you might want to work with stone circles. And if you don't live near any, you don't have to. I've had somatic experiencing sessions where we've called stone circles into the session. I've been on Zoom and I've called them into the session as a way of grounding, and I can really feel their presence there. Let me just take a look around. As you connecting with this stone circle, just ask that energy to be connected to you now. You can Google how to do circle work, how to cast a circle. Google it, trust your own wisdom, and call the energies into your bedroom. I cast circles from my bed sometimes. Oops, well, that's really noisy. But just pull this energy in. Feel it. You're never disconnected from the earth. Okay. I think that's the end of that video. Alright, so if you want to know more, come over to carawild.com, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.